backside, glutes, derriere, butt, all those other words. We know what it is, and we know that everybody wants a better set of these, a better pair of glutes, better looking pair of glutes, right? I mean, that's why we kind of do these exercises, is to shape those glutes so we can put our little peach emoji up there and celebrate, talk about how better looking our glutes are in our pair of pants. But the problem is, our better looking glutes are going to give you the carryover necessary for real life activities. There's so many exercises out there that promise you better functioning, better performing, better looking glutes, right? We've got our squats, we've got our deadlifts, there's even that little thing out there called the hip thrust. The problem is that the glutes, they don't work. They don't work in isolation. So why do we train them in isolation? Why do we train them in a vacuum? So when you're training your glutes properly, you want to be thinking about connections, right? We've talked about it before, but it's worth repeating. Your posterior chain. Basically, there's that diagonal line that connects the lat and the opposing glute. And when you can train those together, you're going to find yourself with a better functioning pair of glutes, derriere, backside, whatever you want to call it. So let's just pick on the hip thrusters for a second, because they'll tell you in the hip thrusters, the EMG activity is off the charts when it comes to your glute activation, right? But there is no core engagement because of the load. You're loading all this weight on your hips. And when you're doing this, you're not getting that super stiff core that your body needs, that your body deserves when moving. And let's just take a quick look at our DVRT hip bridge using our ultimate sandbag. Now the load here, placing that load in our hands, is going to create tension. It's going to give us that connection between our lats and our opposing glutes and all the different progressions that happen as a result. We're creating that super stiff core, which is going to give us a better functioning, more efficient hip movement with no energy leaks. That's the critical component of this, is when you're out in your daily activities and you're doing these movements, you don't want the energy leaks, because the energy leaks will happen to turn over into poor movement, injury. So when we're looking at placing that load properly, we don't want to put it on our hips because that doesn't give us the super stiff core that we deserve. We want to place that load in our hands as we're doing the same hip bridge. But now, because of the tension that we're creating through the lats, and mind you, the more important part about all this is your feet. How are your feet grabbing into the floor? A lot of people do their hip bridges and they think about their heels and they press their heels into the ground because, again, they've been told that EMG activity is going to show you more activation through your glutes by digging your heels into the floor. However, working those kinetic chains, that's the important thing here. Working those kinetic chains, working your movement, it's going to be so imperative that you grab the ground. You want to shorten foot. You want to take your toes, just like your hands, and grab into the ground and dig them in there. So as you're performing your hip bridge, it's not a pushing your heels into the ground, it's a full foot exercise. I want footprints on the ground as those hips rise up, creating that connection between your glute and your opposite lat through that stiff core so you can have better functioning hips and shoulders. If your feet are on the floor, they're very important, and you need to be focused on your feet and the ground. You're welcome.